Congress has perfected the art of the virtue signal. And they love to go out there and say, I'm a good person and I believe in good things. And there are bad people who believe in bad things, but that's not me. I believe in good things. Here, watch me grandstand in a committee hearing that has no teeth attached to it. So anyway, here they are. Here's a congressman. I actually don't know who this congressman is. They didn't put his name up on the screen. And I got to be honest with you, I didn't care enough to try to figure it out. But anyway, here's a congressman. And he's going to berate social media CEOs here. But take note of the posture he's taking. Because he's not berating them because they're too large and they need to be broken up. He's not berating them because of egregious profits. He's berating them because in his estimation, they don't censor enough. Watch.
You took a thing and magnified in 12 hours. You got 350,000 people in your site. You gin this up. Your algorithms make it possible to supercharge these kinds of opinions. I think we're here because of what these platforms enable, how your choices, put our lives and our democracy at risk. And many of us just find it just unacceptable. I want to ask each of you another question. Do you think vaccines that have been approved for COVID-19 work? Just yes or no. Do you think the vaccines that have been approved work? Mr. Zuckerberg?
Yes.
Mr. Pichai?
Yes, absolutely.
Mr. Dorsey?
Yes, but I don't think we're here to discuss our own personal opinions.
I just want to know if you think the vaccines work. Yes?
Yes, however.
Thank you. Okay, so if you think the vaccines work, why have your companies allowed accounts that repeatedly offend your vaccine disinformation policies to remain up? I mean, according to report, just 12 accounts on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram account for 65% of all the vaccine disinformation on your platforms. You're exposing tens of millions of users to this every day. I don't have the stats on YouTube, but my understanding is it's similar. So my question is, why in the midst of a global pandemic that has killed over 500,000 Americans, that you haven't taken these accounts down that are responsible for the preponderance of vaccine disinformation on your platforms? Will you all commit to taking these platforms down today? Mr. Zuckerberg?
Congressman, yes, we do have a policy against allowing.
Oh, I know you have a policy, but will you take the sites down today? You still have 12 people up on your site doing this. Will you take them down?
Congressman, I would need to look at and have our team look at the exact examples to make sure they violate the policies.
And get back to us tomorrow because those still exist. We found them as early as last night. Mr. Pichai, how about you?
We've removed over 850,000 videos in
If you remove them all, do you still have people that are spreading disinformation on your platforms? There's about 12 super spreaders.
We have clear policies and we take down content. Some of the content is allowed if it's people's personal experiences, but we definitely.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dorsey. I see my time is getting expired. Mr. Dorsey, will you take these sites down? You got about 12 super spreaders. Will you take them down?
Yes, we remove everything against our policy.
That was tough to watch. So listen, before we get into the specifics of the clip, let me say this. There's a different part where they discuss stop the steal. And they say this proliferated on Facebook. It helped lead to the attempted insurrection on January 6th and all that. And then obviously you saw them talk about anti-vaccine misinformation. What's my opinion on vaccines? I'm pro-vaccine. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I think they work. What's my opinion on stop the steal? Total bullshit. They're totally wrong. Joe Biden won the election fair and square. There's that, okay? I just want to be clear with my opinions up front. Having said that, he's prodding and begging big tech CEOs to just ban stuff that he doesn't agree with. Get rid of the stop the steal stuff. Get rid of the anti-vaccine stuff. Listen, people are allowed to be wrong. People are allowed to be disastrously wrong and still post what they want. And the fact that this is not the widespread, across-the-board belief now is maddening to me. Because the only way to carry out what this congressman wants is to have a ministry of truth who determines what's acceptable and what's not acceptable in the discourse. And anytime you have a ministry of truth, you're saying, let's have censors. Let's have Silicon Valley oligarch billionaires determine what is and isn't acceptable and have them control the discourse in a very hands-on, direct way. Why would you trust a Ministry of Truth? Why would you trust the censors? I got news for you. There is no such thing as perfectly objective in every way. That doesn't exist. It's a myth. So since that's the case, what you're saying is, I would like to lean on the side of authoritarianism and just hope that the Ministry of Truth gets everything right. There's something to be said about having dialogue and discourse, even if people are dead wrong about something. You're not going to get rid of Stop the Steal by just banning stuff from Facebook, or get rid of anti-vax stuff just by banning stuff from Facebook. That's not how it works. You know, that stuff is always going to exist. It's always going to be there. Wouldn't you rather have it out there and then have, you know, real intelligent responses that break it down? Hey, here's why you're wrong about Stop the Steal. Hey, here's why you're wrong about the anti-vaccine stuff. And that's not going to get rid of all the people who believe those things, but you will convert some people. But what you want to do is you want to ban them and give them a victim complex, further solidifying them in their incorrect beliefs. Okay, the way I view this is like this. Imagine you had some sort of private gathering place that's like a public square. And in this private gathering place that's like a public square, you allow in a couple hundred people for some sort of barbecue. At the barbecue, a lot of people are talking about pleasant things off in a corner or whatever, sipping some lemonade, eating a hot dog or whatever. And then there's other people who are discussing in this private gathering, which is like a, you know, public square, they're discussing Stop the Steal, or they're discussing vaccine beliefs. Somebody's against it, somebody's for it, they're having the conversation. What this guy wants is for the person whose private gathering that is to go up to the person who doesn't believe in vaccines or believes in Stop the Steal and say, you're banned, get out of here. This person talking about Stop the Steal, you got to go. This person is talking about anti-vaccine stuff, you got to go. Okay, let's keep going. This person doesn't buy the official story on JFK, they got to go. This person's questioning 9/11 stuff, they got to go. This person brought up the Bay of Pigs. This person brought up the Tuskegee experiments. The establishment says that you're not allowed to talk about those things, they got to go. This one's talking about the 2016 DNC primary and how it was rigged against Bernie Sanders. Establishment doesn't accept that one, that's got to go. This person's taking the side of Edward Snowden. This person's taking the side of Chelsea Manning. Okay, well, the establishment has deemed that they're criminals and they're bad actors and they're working for foreign governments or whatever bullshit they're using against them now. They got to go. This person's questioning what happened in Syria. They got to go. Once you start censoring, there is no little bit of censoring. It's always going to be used to support the narrative of the powerful. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. And I haven't even brought up the most important point, which is, in many cases, mainstream media and our own government are the key spreaders of misinformation and disinformation. It was the media that got virtually everything wrong about Russiagate. Stories that were just flat out fabricated, that were lies. About Paul Manafort meeting with Julian Assange. Totally not true, and they ran with it. The story about Russian bounties on our soldiers. It took within a few weeks, there was an admission, this is kind of bullshit. But some are still running with it. And that's a very serious thing to be wrong about and to push out there. By this logic, wouldn't you have to get rid of some of the major outlets? I haven't even brought up the Iraq War. Virtually every single mainstream media outlet pushed for an illegal and offensive wars based on lies. Based on lies. They did the bidding of the intelligence agencies when the intelligence agencies were lying. They were wrong. And people pushed it as if it was gospel. Shouldn't they all be banned then by your logic? Shouldn't they be banned? Hey, you're spreading misinformation that is leading to active real-world harm, leading to the deaths of at least 200,000 innocent civilians in Iraq. Right? So shouldn't, by their logic, hey, if you believe in censorship and you believe in deplatforming, shouldn't these people go? No, because again, he just believes in censoring people who are not in power. And they might say, oh, start it with the right-wingers now and the Stop the Steal and the anti-vax stuff. It ain't going to stop there, dog. It never stops there. Ever. Ever. Buck the establishment narrative on Russia. Buck the establishment narrative on China. Support some sort of edgy lefties. Chapo Trap House was banned from Reddit. The list goes on and on. How many lefties have been banned from Twitter because they've been accused of being some sort of Russian bots or whatever? We shouldn't even be having this conversation. This is the government prodding social media CEOs to censor more Americans. Listen, I know people are wrong about stuff often. That's called life. Engage, have dialogue. You'll convince some, you won't convince others. But this is the price of freedom. I don't want an authoritarian dialogue dictated by idiot congresspeople in a ministry of truth. Because they're going to be way too expansive. And even if they weren't way too expansive, as a matter of principle, I believe in free discourse. Now, of course, if somebody's doing direct threats of violence, that's totally different. That's even illegal under our Constitution and our First Amendment. No direct threats of violence. Got it. That's not what he's talking about. Ban anybody discussing Stop the Steal or ban anybody discussing anti-vax stuff. Or it's never going to stop there. And guess what? The way this would functionally work, this is the part that should terrify you the most. If we had these platforms and we had this approach back during the Iraq War, you know who really would have been banned? The people questioning the Iraq War. The people who said, hey man, I don't think Saddam has weapons of mass destruction. Those would have been the ones who were banned for misinformation and disinformation. Listen, yes, sometimes the conspiracies are wrong. Sandy Hook, for example, you name it, Stop the Steal, you name it. Sometimes the conspiracies are wrong. Sometimes the so-called conspiracies are actually the factually correct position. And if you give the powerful these tools, they will always use it to fit their own ends. So if you're on the left and you're advocating for censorship, beware of what you wish for. This is going to come back and bite you in the ass immediately. It's like with Twitter. They were prodding Twitter to do more bannings. Guess what? A number of large Antifa accounts got banned because of course they are. They're going to be. Of course they are. And a lot of the Antifa people are the people who would cheer the deplatforming of the people on the far right. How many times do I have to tell you? It's a package deal. If they go, you go. Not saying there's an equivalence between you two, but there are plenty of people who make the argument that there is an equivalence between the two of you, and that's enough. And that's enough. There's no equivalence between me and Steven Crowder, but some people would make an equivalence between me and Steven Crowder, and that's enough. So it's a package deal. Do you want the freedom or do you not? And I'm telling you, that's how it would be used. If these platforms were around back during the Iraq War days, the Congress people would be berating the social media CEOs for allowing the conversation about the Iraq War, allowing people to say Saddam doesn't have weapons of mass destruction. That's how it would work. Do not ask for overlords, for oligarch censors to come save the day and save the discourse. They are not on your team.